My name is Jose Carlos Sandoval. I'm 27 years old. I was born in Michoacán, Mexico. I currently live here in Chicago. And I work full-time for a family-owned business called Chula Vista Imports. We are importers and distributors, mostly of fruit, like mango, fresa. We sell that primarily to ice cream shops like La Michoacana. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the mangonadas. That is one of our specialties. So that's what I do full-time, make sure that you guys have unlimited mango. So before my conversion, I grew up playing soccer almost my whole life. Soccer was my life. That is what I did all day, every day. Desde que me acuerdo to maybe the age of like 24, I played soccer. I dedicated all my time and attention to that. Up until maybe a few years ago, I decided after pursuing that, I played soccer a bit overseas. Jugué en España, I came back, I was in Mexico for a bit, and then I played in a couple states throughout the US. And then when I was 24, in 2020, I just decided to stop playing soccer. And when I moved back to Chicago, my life, it became a mess of not knowing who I was, and so I was everywhere doing everything. A lot of partying. It happened to be the summer, so a lot of boat parties, going out, a lot of drinking, heavy partying, not sleeping, and at the time I thought I was living my best life. I said, we're outside. So that's a lot of what I was doing right before I found Iskali, or Iskali found me, and I really began to have that encounter with Christ. So that's where I was a little bit everywhere. Turning point in my life, I think está muy marcado. It's very clear to me that switch, or that turning point. It was living my retreat at the end of 2021 in August. Maybe el retiro con Iskali, and like I said, I was just at a point where I was going out, drinking, partying, not doing well at work, not doing well at taking care of my physical health, not sleeping well, and I could tell that I was searching for something and I wasn't finding it, which is why I was maybe abusing and excessively going out into the world and trying to find it. And then I live my retiro, and I come to know that what I'm looking for is that infinite, perfect love of God. Y me empiezo a llenar de ese amor and wanting to know more, wanting to learn more about who He is and who I am through that. I think that's very clear to me, that turning point. So August of 2021, I leave my retiro and I really start to want to know God and build a better relationship. I think that would be my turning point. Well, how I really encountered my faith was thanks to that retiro. I think growing up as todo buen mexicano, you grew up Catholic, going to church on Sundays, pero it's just what I did because that's what we did. It wasn't so much of a intrinsically motivated action, and as I got older, I realized I am looking for that. Ya de estar muy perdido, as I said earlier, wanting to find that missing piece in my heart, that it didn't matter if I was getting everything that I thought was supposed to be the answer, right? I started making some good money at the time. It was just a good place economically for me, and I found that wasn't enough. And then I was going out, right? It was the summer in Chicago, and I had all these friends, and I was going on little yacht parties and enjoying myself for free. I was being invited to these things, and my life, instead of feeling more full, I remember just waking up feeling empty, extremely empty. And that's where that part of me was really asking, okay, what is it? ¿Qué busco? ¿Qué es? I remember like le fallaba mucho a mis papás, you know, and I think we all have this thing where we want to make our parents proud. And I felt like I was failing my mom, which was one of the biggest things. It hurt me to disappoint my mom y escucharla llorar por mí. And that really broke me, and that really pushed me to want to live this retiro. So at that point, you know, I was a guy that was too often waking up, not knowing how I made it home. I remember one day in particular, it was a Sunday, and estaban todo menos misa, como dicen. That night, I don't know how I got there, but I woke up next to the river in Chicago, downtown Chicago, inches from the river, the Chicago River, and knowing very well that had I just slipped over in the state that I was, I might not have woke up. That might have been the last night I ever went out. And I realized that, you know, things had to change. Yet it wasn't really until I did disappoint my mom, maybe a week or two later, that she asked me for a simple thing: please pick me up from the airport. No llegué because I was asleep, because I was too hungover. And hearing her cry, that really, it broke me, and it made me want to try this retiro that I was being invited to. So I did. I lived my retiro, and there I heard about this God who loves you perfectly, about a God who forgives, who's merciful, who doesn't disappoint, who keeps his promises. And I was looking for that, and I felt loved, I felt seen. I had strangers who, without knowing me, se entregaban a mí, me amaron bien. And that, you know, that stirred something in my heart, and I realized that I wanted that opportunity to also love others well, and to serve, and to also love the way that I felt like I was being loved. And gracias a ese retiro con Iskali, my life really began to change. I started to, that huge empty hole in my heart that I had felt, all of a sudden it wasn't so empty. It was full of life, of love, of hope, of friendship, genuine friendship. Y ahí es donde estoy ahorita. I'm in this beautiful place. I have friends that care for me, not for what I could do for them, but just because they want to love me well también. Y that has really changed my life. And so I hope to do the same. I hope to offer that friendship to others the way it's been offered to me, to love others the way I've been loved, to talk to them about a God that loves perfectly, that forgives everything, that we are all worthy, regardless of if we are not making it home, regardless of if we're failing at work, if we have a degree or not, if we have money or not, you know, if we look good or not. Todo eso no importaba. I was being loved because he loved me well, not because I was doing well in life. So that's my story. That's a little bit of how I got here, and where I am, and where I hope to go, and how I hope to continue to love others. So now, I think one of the biggest challenges I currently hold is, it's still a spiritual battle. You know, I think the transformation process is just that. It's a process. Es un proceso. It's not one day to the next, all of a sudden, every part of me that maybe I didn't like is gone. That's not the case, right? I have a desire to want to do things differently. And with that desire, I work towards it, pero sí es un proceso, right? That process has been a journey, you know, and sometimes you're doing very well and sometimes you fall. And I think it's just remembering that we're human, que el proceso no va a ser perfecto, and that it's not a straight line up, but that it will continue to be a process and a journey. And just to remind myself and give myself the grace that God is giving me. Sometimes I want to be perfect, and that's unreasonable. And the grace doesn't come from me or my actions. So I think consistently reminding myself that that has been one of my biggest challenges, is just being graceful with myself and understanding that it's a process, and just walking consistently regardless of maybe the progress. As I'm in this conversion process, I recognize that a huge change came about in works, especially in work. I was failing in el trabajo, no llegaba a tiempo, or I would show up drunk, hungover. Sometimes I would go straight from being out to going to work. And as you might be able to imagine, that is a very unproductive person. And thanks to my encounter with God, dije, tengo que poner las pilas. God is calling me to do better, to be better. And so at work, just to be able to be so much more productive, to be able to give so much more to other people working around me, right? To my colleagues, to the business that I work at, just to be able to provide so much more and to help so much more. And in that, being able to serve, our customers better, have a smile on my face a lot more, have more energy, rendir más, have more clarity throughout the day. That has been super obvious to me. It's one of the biggest changes that I noticed. And then in my personal life, I did notice there's a change in the people that I was hanging out with. I was particularly hanging with a group of people that were only there when things were great. And then I noticed that if things weren't, I didn't typically see them. And now having a group of friends that is consistently there with me, praying for me, checking up on me, loving me, and a desire in my heart to also want to check up on them and love them. So I did also notice that just the people around me, the energy around me, the love around me grew. And then same thing with my family, just a warmer embrace, as I could love my parents and better, and almost just like respect them more. Because it was casi faltarles el respeto, some of my actions, some of my behaviors. So just being able to be a little bit more proud of who I am as a person and then my actions. So those are a lot of the encapsulating changes that I would say. Some of my goals for this Lent was what I just said about my family, is to grow more near to my family, to serve in my house more. I feel like Iskali does a great job of pushing us to serve and encouraging the selflessness, and I believe I am doing a good job of that, but it really, I noticed that I was serving a lot outside of my home, and that I could do a better job of serving in my home, right? Empieza en nuestra casa, and that's something that I really asked myself, that I encourage myself to do this Lent, is to serve my family better. And in that, I encourage others as well to serve in their house. It's great to go out into the world and to serve, but if you go somewhere else and you want to pick up and help, llegas a tu casa and you don't want to bother, with the dishes, you take out your garbage. I think that you could do better there. So I think if that's the case for you, I encourage you to also look to serve your family better. It's something beautiful, it's very rewarding, and what better place than our own home. If you're someone that finds themselves in the place where I was not too long ago, and even in a place where I can sometimes find myself, right, just struggling spiritually, or struggling emotionally, mentally, of who am I, right? What is God calling me? What is my purpose? I can just encourage you to be patient with yourself, but to look, right? To look and to walk and to ask these questions. The answers don't typically come all by themselves, right? We do have to ask. We have to ask them, and then we have to be willing to listen. I think what helps to make time really for silence. If you're asking for the answer and then you don't silence yourself at all to listen, then even if God is trying to tell you, pero no lo escuchas, de nada nos sirve. So I encourage you to find space, find time for silence, to pray, to ask God, en verdad, ¿qué quieres de mí, Señor? God, put the right desires in my heart. Give me the clarity to see and to hear and understand what it is that you want from me, and then give me the strength to go ahead and do what it is that you're asking. All of those things I can say have helped me in my journey, in my walk con Cristo. And I hope maybe having some of those insights will help you as well. I view my journey as a humbling one. Diosito is always there, and he's held my hand the whole time. I think there's been times where I've wanted to sprint when he's really calling me to walk and to take my time. So it's been a humbling journey. I think a part of me wanted everything to be fine right away, or everything to be perfect, and that's not the case, right? Like I said earlier, it's not like a switch that all of a sudden your bad behaviors, your bad habits that you had for years, that they just disappear. It can happen, pero that hasn't been the case for me. And so the journey has been one that, like I said, has been humbling, pero it has offered me a lot of insight into who I am. It has offered me patience and understanding for others. It's easy to judge others, and then you go through something yourself and you realize, okay, it's not as easy as it looks. So it's helped, give me also clarity and perspective into maybe other people's struggles as well. So my journey has been a beautiful one. It's brought many, many gifts into my life, but it's been one that's also brought many lessons and many things to learn, perspectives and understanding. Closing remarks, I think it's just to be loving and be open, right? Have an open heart to God. He's always there. He's waiting for us. He's at the door. He's a gentleman. He'll never force his way in. So open your hearts, as open as we are to absolutely everything else, right? We'll try everything. We find something on the internet. Oh, let's try that. We find ourselves out, and someone invites us to do this, to try that, and typically we say yes. I would encourage us to be as open and as curious to know God and to let Him into our hearts and to call to Him and to talk to Him, because He listens and He answers.